To the outside, that means Sven Schirmer has dropped a couple of places. Darren Howell, I think, has picked up a bit of contact. And the speed cam by Faye as the cars, for the first time of asking, head into Eau Rouge. And where you carry so much speed up there, it's Jan Sandman from Andreas Koenig, P1 and P2. Then it's Boris Gideon, P3. Sven Schirmer has tucked in to that P4 position at the moment. That's not where he wants to be, as Andreas Koenig under threat now from Boris Gideon as they head up into the chicane. Tyres still not up to full operating temperature, so gently does it as all the drivers make their way through that chicane, and Sven Schirmer will be, well, ruining the fact that he was squeezed out through La Source. There's confirmation of the order on the left-hand side of the screen for you. Sandman, Koenig, Gideon, Schirmer and Shibato. I think it was Norikato Shibata that made contact with Darren Howell running down towards Eau Rouge and saw Darren Howell's door mirror go for a Burton. But it is Sandman, Koenig and Gideon the top three.
Absolutely great. Kudos to all our drivers for making it through the first sequence of turns, not unscathed, but without any major incident. Everybody's still running, everybody fairly in control. And as I say that, Shibata runs fairly wide. As you said, Sven Schirmer on the outside line. That's always tricky through our source, and you can be caught out by a car coming through the inside. Sven Schirmer will have to put his head down. He's got an advantage in the championship, so don't expect anything crazy, but he really, really wants to get as many points as he can.
Yes, and he'll be aware of that. And there you can see, and that's Shibata who's run out. Two drivers going out onto the gravel there, and that plays into the hands a little bit towards Sven Schirmer, who's now able to reel in Boris Gideon. So don't expect any heroics from Sven Schirmer, who needs to protect his position, but in so doing, bank as many points as he possibly can to keep the championship, his championship hopes, in the right order, which is where they are currently going into this race. And Norikatsu Shibata then taking a very odd line through the into the bus stop chicanes. Another lap is put into the book then with Jan Sandman a full 1.186 seconds ahead of Andreas Koenig, who runs in P2. Then it is Boris Gideon. Now, Darren Howell here having a real go at Pino Frascaro. So Pino Frascaro currently running P6, Darren Howell from the UK running in P7. Then it's Guy Favre and Stephen Earle and Shintaro Akatsu and Stephen Dobson. So there's Guy Favre, then local driver in the 1-2-0 car at the back of this triple play of cars running up Eau Rouge right now. Let's pick them up here as Darren Howell gets a good exit, and well, look at the slipstream that Guy Favre is getting off the back of the Darren Howell car. Darren Howell then put it to the inside of Pino Frascaro. Pino Frascaro, he could be the middle of a sandwich here as Guy Favre with a lot of speed. Is he able to scrub that speed off? Yes, he is. I thought there was going to be contact on the back end of the Darren Howell car. Credit to Guy Favre. He managed to control that, but both those drivers have gone through on Pino Frascaro, the Rosso Corsa racer. So Darren Howell, great driving, and great driving also from Guy Favre, Nico.
Absolutely. Aggregate slipstream is something you can see here in the Camel Straight when you're running behind several cars. Also a nice battle between Shintaro Akatsu and Stephen Earle. Stephen Earle holding on for dear life and position in that case. And you can see Guy Favre, Belgian driver, obviously Spa, certainly extra significance. Didn't have it all his own way in qualifying yesterday, but with a good result. And you can see that track knowledge and the drive in front of guests and friends here in Spa certainly will mean something.
You're absolutely right. When you're playing in front of a home crowd, I'm not sure it adds tenths, but it certainly adds some kudos to what you're doing out there on track. And I have to say, really impressive driving from Darren Howell and also Stephen Dobson, our two UK drivers from the Ferrari Challenge in the UK here at Spa-Francorchamps. Darren Howell, for the moment, is able to show the local driver a clean pair of heels here, running in P6 for JCT 600 leads. And nice to see Rochelle from the JCT 600 dealership here in the paddock as well. Always well supported of the Howell family, as I mentioned. Right, now Guy Favre is getting the benefit of slipstream once again off of Darren Howell, and slipstream that was referred to by one of my sim racing friends as a wind shadow, which is an interesting expression and one that I didn't find as going through on Pino Frascaro. Also there was Stephen Earle.
Yeah, Pino Frascaro dropping down a little bit, lost, I think, 4 positions. Guy Favre, dives to the inside through La Source, and he makes that stick, drops off the speed, and he moves up a position. So that is from P7 up into P6. In the meantime, leader is still Jan Sandman, the gap up to 2.6 seconds. Our 4 front runners fairly gapped, so we can focus on the battles raging behind them.
Yeah, pitched nicely Guy Favre into La Source the way he did that. Racing room was left by Darren, so it was a very fair overtake, and Guy Favre's intimate knowledge, if you will, of Spa-Francorchamps playing dividends there. And you can see Pino Frascaro now under attack from Shintaro Akatsu in the green and yellow car. And Shintaro Akatsu, I think, has gone through on Pino Frascaro to put it up to P9. Here comes Stephen Earle. Well, actually, Shintaro Akatsu has not done that. Pino Frascaro has stuck his elbows out and said, no, you're not coming through. Here's the start of the race all over again now. You can see that he got away quite nicely, did Sven Schirmer, but getting away really, really well was Jan Sandman. And then Boris Gideon trying to put it in the middle there actually caused Sven Schirmer to have to run out probably wider than he wanted to, which meant that he lost out. That was the incident between Darren Howell and the car of Norikatsu Shibata, where just door mirrors went flying. It's not impacted or affected the performance of the cars, as we've seen. And that was Boris Gideon and Norikatsu Shibata. I have to say, that was a brilliant move from Shibata to control that and keep his foot in, sliding through there beautifully, as indeed did Dr. Stephen Earle then, as he made his way through the bus stop chicane, usurping Pino Frascaro in so doing. So some good replay shots there, and this was the Guy Favre overtake into La Source on Darren Howell. Good job done there with the local knowledge, paying dividends. Thank you for those replays. Here's our race leader. We've not seen much of him. Reason being is 3.7 seconds to the good up the road. Jan Sandman, the Kessel driver. Of course, he needs to bank every point he can to keep his championship aspirations and hopes alive. And is doing his maximum at the moment. Is even holding the fastest lap position, Nico, which is critical because it would give him an additional point. So it could be absolute max haul for Jan Sandman, could it not? Because he would take pole position, race win potentially, and also fastest lap. So, you know, he could not maximize his points haul anymore.
No, exactly. And with Sven Schirmer currently in P4, it's still early goings in this race. He would make up 8 more points towards Sven Schirmer in the title chase. So, yeah, that's exactly what he has had on his menu getting out of bed this morning. But it's another 22 minutes plus a lap remaining. The first few track limit infractions have sprung up on our timing screen. We will get to that, unfortunately, probably later in the race. The rule is 3 you can get away with. From the 4th one, it becomes critical. Thus far, nobody in immediate danger. No, but interestingly, one of the drivers that has had a track limits warning is our championship leader, Sven Schirmer. Just saying. Everybody else, it's Norikatsu Shibata, Guy Favre and Darren Howell, as well as other drivers, including Pino Frascaro. So there you can see Giacomo Altoe. Now, he is the young gentleman there who is Emil Fry's driver coach, so therefore looking after Andreas Koenig, who's running in P2. We saw him, there he is, the back end of the 104 car of Andreas Koenig running P2. Boris Gideon is running P3 at the moment, but Jan Sandman with a superb getaway, if you will, is now 4.652 seconds to the good. Now, as Nico has said, we've still got 21 minutes plus 1 lap, and of course, once this race is completed, there's still another 3 races to be completed before the end of the season. So an awful lot can happen, and an awful lot of points can be won yet. So I think it's fair to say, and I'm not doing the calculations on the hoof, but actually Andreas Koenig is still in with a distant shot at the championship, isn't he? Yeah, absolutely, and he would also make up a few points towards Sven Schirmer, would lose a couple to Jan Sandman, but that gap wasn't that big. So certainly key takeaway at this stage, it's going to go down the road and to the wire potentially. The only thing Sven Schirmer really can't afford is to do something crazy, because if he were to score 0 points, all of a sudden that lead would melt almost to nothing.
Yes. Sven Schirmer currently running P4. Here comes Darren Howell and Stephen Earle. Something's been off, because you can see the dust there on the bus stop chicane. And
I think there was, sorry if I come across you, 2 double waved yellows there in the background. I'm sure we will get a replay of what happened there.
warning of the yellow flag at turn 18. So, yeah, Stephen Earle and Darren Howell we saw. Here comes Darren Howell, and I think that maybe Alexei Komarov might have had something to do with that. He's dropped right to the bottom of the order on the left-hand side of the screen, as you can probably see. So here comes Stephen Earle then, having a go on Darren Howell here. And this is for P7 in the race, and under braking then going into the chicane. Again, racing room left by the drivers here. Good, healthy respect between all the drivers, and Stephen Earle goes through and picks up another place, and that puts him into P7 right now with 19 minutes and a lap remaining. Still got that yellow flag at turn 18, so presumably the Alexei Komarov car is stricken there. If it can be recovered, then we can get away with that under a localized yellow, but it is all conjecture. Let's see it in replay here. My goodness me. That was one heck of a moment for Alexei, and no wonder we saw some smoke, Nico.
Oh, that could have, I mean...
Oh, he threaded that between Shintaro Akatsu and Pino Frascaro. Fair play to Alexei Komarov. He had to steer through those cars. Well done, friend.
Well, good thing that there was no collision. That could have certainly been significantly worse in terms of the cars colliding. Alexei Komarov out of the race, and the yellow flag, obviously, because the car is still stationary there. We can only assume, but good thing he didn't collect anybody, and we can continue our race.
And I really think he did everything he could to avoid making a collection, because that was a heck of a speed. Well done, Alexei. Right, well done, Jan Sandman, who's extended his lead to 5.693 seconds. Meantime, lots of others out there, of course, including Stephen Dobson. And here we can see being chased down now.
Maurizio Pittori on Tommy Lindroth.
I was going to say, Tommy driving that fairly unfamiliar colours for Tommy Lindroth, and Maurizio Pittori then in the 181 car is doing the chasing. Now this is for P12 in the race. Great to see Tommy back in Ferrari Challenge racing.
And this is where this yellow flag really plays a role, because one of the overtaking opportunities is into that chicane, and that certainly means that you can't do it. So if you're defending, that kind of means you can relax at that point, just focus on your apex into the turn, out of the turn, because no attack can happen there. So that changes a little bit the dynamic. However, we've seen time and time again how drivers effectively line up an overtake at the end of the Camel Straight on the start-finish straight. Yes. So staying in the slipstream or wind shadow.
Yes, sorry. Mikael Niemes it was that came up with that expression.
And we've got a safety car.
Now, I think the safety car is that they've realised that actually we are being denied potentially some race action, and therefore the safety car has been called to allow the recovery of the Alexei Komarov car. I assume there is Alexei. He's perfectly all right. I have to say, the Scuderia Prague driver doing a very, very good job in avoiding any other car. Well done, Alexei. So, safety car is out. That means the big loser, Nico, in my opinion, is Jan Sandman, who had built a margin of 6.5 seconds over any other driver. And, of course, with the safety car coming out, that means that gap is nullified. Does mean that Jan can relax a little bit, but he's going to have to do it all over again. And I have to say, when we've seen Jan in a safety car restart situation, he's always been very composed and controlled it very, very well. But everyone will bunch up together again. I don't think there's going to be a long safety car incident or intervention, because just got to recover a car from a fairly easy position to do so. And yeah, we will see. But as I say, let's get a drone shot here. We can probably see the car under recovery. It's there, but you can see quite a bit of fluid has come out from the car as well. But actually, I think a lot of that fluid actually won't be out of the car, it'll be out of the tyre barriers.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. So anyway, we're under the safety car, pretty much exactly half race distance. And yes, Jan Sandman, he was denied, or his lead was taken away. We hear that time and time again how driver coaches and team managers advise their drivers, push so you have a safe lead, but anything above a few seconds is kind of academic, because with a safety car you might lose it, so don't overdrive your tires. Didn't get the impression necessarily that Jan Sandman did that, however, on the other side we only saw him very briefly given his significant lead, so gonna be interesting.
I think, and I was saying just a few moments ago, and you'll either care to agree or disagree, but I think Jan Sandman can be very cool and calm and collected in these situations. And when I've seen him, I think Charlie Hollings will be talking to him and just saying, just keep everything in the window of temperature as best you can, and just control it when we go back to racing again. Ultimately, he is in the lead, and in the live championship, you can see it'll be 136 points to Sven Schirmer. If everything stayed this way, he would have a 20-point advantage over Jan Sandman, so that advantage is coming down, but it's still a margin.
Yeah, it's still a margin. I don't think the fastest lap can be calculated in this graphics live, so because it's not awarded. So by my reckoning, it might be an additional point, but anyway, now he gets 8 points. That reduces it to 20.
Yeah.
The rationale, theoretically, do it again tomorrow, you're down to 12, do it again, you're down to 4, and then you win the championship. Very easy.
Just, of course, on paper.
Yeah,
on
it's
paper,
very easy.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, but
in fairness, on paper, you could win the championship.
No.
But yeah, you're right. And Sven can, all he can do is, he'll be blessing this safety car, I would have thought, because it gives him a further opportunity, doesn't it? Potentially.
Potentially. Then, on the other hand, Norikazu Shibata will have other plans, and wherever
Indeed.
you can move up the order possibly means you could also move down the order, and being bunched up, even though obviously safety car restart will be single file, not side by side, but being bunched up always bears the opportunity of one mistake by anybody having a knock-on effect, and you never know. So we hope that all goes well. And
Donald Byrd said, like dominoes, falling down. Yeah, it can happen. But yeah, when we saw the drone over the Alexei Komarov car, I don't think I saw any recovery sort of underway, Nico. I'm hoping that the recovery team here at Spa-Francorchamps are dealing with that right now, so that we're not going to be much longer behind the safety car. The other thing is that depending on when the recovery is done, relative to where the safety car is on the lap, because it's a 7.004 kilometer lap here at Spa-Francorchamps, which is double what it is at a lot of other circuits. So the safety car time is theoretically going to be longer.
yeah, absolutely. 3 Norris rings and change. Almost as we take a look at the ambient and all the activities that can be done here in the Ardennes region, especially on a beautiful day like today, certainly thus far. And
rather him or her than me.
Yeah, well, definitely. As we approach the end of this lap, and obviously safety car restart won't happen from here on, but hopefully next time they will be coming to this point, the safety car will have moved up the order and we will be going back racing. Maybe we'll get some intel and insight from this drone shot, and indeed there is no Alexei Komarov car in the position it was, so well, there it is, but there is the recovery team. And they have already moved it a little bit. I think once the cars have snaked past,
having a discussion about where to take the car to get it moved as quickly as possible, which is exactly as predicted. So I confidently predict that the safety car will come in at the end of this lap, Nico.
I won't hold that bad. I would second that, and that means, I mean, we're just under 11 minutes plus a lap under the safety car. The last time around was 4 minutes 10. If once the safety car accelerates, that will be a little bit less, but we're talking about 7 minutes and change plus a lap. Could be 5 more laps.
Yes, that's the potential. Let's see. What we do know is that it's going to be somewhat shortened, isn't it?
Yeah, but I think you can already see that the speed has picked up a little. Last time around, Sector 1 was 68 seconds. Now it's 52. Safety car coming in. Yes,
we get notice. You'll get notice on the screen very shortly. The safety car will be coming in at the conclusion of this lap, as predicted. So the car's making their way through the first chicane right now, and there is that confirmation safety car in this lap. So now it is the responsibility of Jan Salmon to think about how he can control this restart and when he's going to go for it. Then it's Andreas Koenig and Boris Gideon, of course, and look at Andreas Koenig. He is trying to weld the front of his car to the back end of Jan Salmon and trying to anticipate when Jan Salmon is going to go for it, because there is an opportunity here for Andreas Koenig potentially to take the lead of this race and really boost his championship chances. So we're on board with the Richard Mills safety car as it makes its way back towards the start-finish line and the paddock. Jan Salmon weaving just gently from side to side, trying to regenerate temperature into those tires. Andreas Koenig trying to do the same, but always keeping a weather eye on the back of the Salmon car, because only Salmon can decide when to accelerate, but when he accelerates, he has to stay accelerated. You cannot increase, decrease your speed. It has to be constant in the restart phase.
Yeah, and that is especially interesting when you have a chicane like here with the bus stop. You have to brake, but obviously you have to do it effectively at race speed. You can't be, oh, now I take my time through the chicane. No, you have to be as quick as you are in the race. And you can see Andreas Koenig, he will be eager.
He's trying to anticipate when Jan Salmon is going to go for it. They're both breaking away just a little bit from Boris Gideon. So Salmon stacking them up right now. Only Salmon can decide when he is going to go for it. So they're coming into the chicane right now. You've got to be on your metal. You've got to be on the loud pedal. Salmon goes for it now. And Andreas Koenig, I think he's done reasonably well there. So into La Source for the first time of asking since the safety car. Salmon has got a 3-4 car length. Under braking, Andreas Koenig gets a bit closer. Boris Gideon gets even closer to Koenig. And Sven Schirmer and Narakatsu Shibata go through. Shibata is closer to Schirmer than Schirmer is to Gideon. As the cars all run down right now, past the Faye speed cam and up the Eau Rouge. And I have to say, Jan Salmon has done a good job. Now, is Koenig close enough to be able to get the advantage of any draft off the back of the car? He's going to have to leave it late before diving to the inside, going into the chicane. I don't think he's close enough, to be honest. So into the chicane they go. I think Salmon did a good job with that restart.
Yeah, he did. Sven Schirmer dipped the wheel into the gravel coming out of La Source, which meant that Shibata was able to close in, but he controlled it well enough to not open the door even through the Camel Straight. And that means that's Guy Favre with a dive, but I think he's not close enough and not risking a collision there. Stephen Dobson has picked up the third track limit warning, which means the final warning before a penalty would be awarded. So that's something to bear in mind. And Andreas Koenig is also up to 2. He is, of the top 3, he's at most risk. Also at 2 is Sven Schirmer.
So Jan Salmon, our race leader. Then it's Andreas Koenig and Boris Gideon. Then Sven Schirmer, Narakatsu Shibata and Guy Favre having a very good run in the number 120 car. Of course, local driver here with a lot of guests and a lot of supporters. And he dips into the gravel. That will have cost him some valuable 100s, but he controlled it nicely. So Spa-Francorchamps then, all 7.004 kilometers of tarmac. Jan Salmon already with 1.2 seconds of margin over the chasing Andreas Koenig. Car number 125 is under investigation, I'm being told, for overtaking off the track at turn 16. That's Stephen Dobson. You'll see that in graphics in just a moment. But this is Shintaro Akatsu trying to reel in Pino Frascaro, as Pino Frascaro has gone through on Shintaro Akatsu, as indeed did Stephen Dobson. There is the confirmation of that investigation with regards to going off the track. So Sven Schirmer now, Nico, is under real pressure from Narakatsu Shibata. Shibata dives to the inside. Schirmer tries to turn in. He is able to carry a little bit more momentum through, but he's lost another place, Nico. It's all going south for the championship leader.
Indeed, and if you remember who was the most active in the first half of the race, it's Guy Favre, and lo and behold, he is knocking on the rear bumper of Sven Schirmer almost. So Yes, Sven Schirmer doesn't quite seem to have the control in the car at this stage of the race. His season has been as close as flawless in terms of having bad results. This is probably the worst it has been, with the exception of race 2 in Barcelona.
So Guy Favre then, the local driver, getting ever closer. You're right, Nico. And under real pressure is Sven Schirmer now. Guy Favre knows this place like the back of his hand. He has the home track advantage here. Schirmer is trying to defend that position. Bear in mind, he's down to P5 and he's trying to hold on to that P5 position. But Nico, I'm tempted to say it's a question of when, not if.
Well, you never know, as we have a penalty awarded for Stephen Dobson, and when we go put our focus on this battle, Sven Schirmer, it's only 4 minutes in a lap, so he is trying to hang in there, and that's a replay of how the position changed. And yeah, Shibata went to the outside and then went on the inside for...
I think he sold him a dummy.
Yeah. And it's a little bit like it was on the restart. Sven Schirmer, a little bit too much momentum, then went to the very brink of the outside, and that meant he couldn't put his foot down and put the throttle on as early as he would have liked, and that brought him back into the clutches.
Stephen Dobson is picking up a further penalty for overtaking by going off the track, plus a track limits penalty. You can see the red bar across the position 9, and here comes Guy Favre once again. You can see that Sven Schirmer is positioning the car in a position where it makes it really, really difficult for Guy Favre, but Guy knows this track really, really well. You can see the team as we split the screen here. He's got him going into the bus stop chicane. Surely scrubs off the speed, and that really compromises the line for Sven Schirmer, who's going to lose 2 places as Stephen Earl is right alongside him, and he's got the momentum, Nico. Surely going into La Source, he's going to be able to shut the door. Maybe not. So can Sven Schirmer wrestle this position back from Stephen Earl? Yes, he does. But it is no question about it. P6 currently for Sven Schirmer. Guy Favre has gone through up to P5. This for the championship leader. The points are ebbing away. 2.5 minutes remain, plus 1 lap. And here comes Stephen Earl now going into the chicane. Stephen Earl knows he's quicker. There you can see the time penalty that's been awarded to the Stephen Dobson car in graphics. Where is Stephen Earl going to try once again? I thought he was going to have a go going into the chicane, but he wasn't close enough to be able to do so. And that means it's been very, very good defending from Sven Schirmer. But now, as you can see, Guy Favre, having been released from the clutches, is up the road. And I'm tempted to say, I'm not sure that that car of Sven Schirmer's is absolutely optimized.
No, not handling perfectly. And yeah, I mean, here he was trying to defend and didn't scrub off the speed because he was trying to keep the line. And well done for retaining the position against Stephen Earl into La Source. But yeah, he is struggling, and right now he would only get 4 points from this race, whereas Jan Salmon, who just improved on his previous best lap and fastest lap overall, would be at 16 points.
Look at the team of Guy Favre then for Scuderia FMA. They were very happy with what their driver was doing.
Emozioni Ferrari in full display. So Jan Salmon would right now claw 12 points back, and so that championship lead is getting thinner and thinner as we speak.
Yes, it is. So we've got a minute plus 1 lap remaining. Here is Andreas Koenig, who seems to have the measure of Boris Gideon, who in turn has the measure of Norikatsu Shibata. So here's Andreas Koenig running in P2, and those 110 car, as I mentioned, being driven by Norikatsu Shibata. Then it is Guy Favre, Sven Schirmer, and Stephen Earl. Into La Source, turn 1. And then down through that turn, heading towards Eau Rouge. This is our race leader with a margin of 5.386 seconds. Fastest lap graphic comes aboard for Jan Salmon at 2:21. So Salmon doing a very good job out front, maintaining a very comfortable lead. Just cool, collected. Here's Andreas Koenig. And, well, they can see on the Kemmel Straight just waiting to see the Guy Favre, Sven Schirmer. But we stay with Andreas Koenig, who's got 6.5 tenths over Boris Gideon, the outer Hausel driver. And these three fighting over that P2 position, but I don't really think they're close enough as we've reached 0 on the clock, plus 1 lap. So when Jan Sandman crosses the timing line, we will be into the last lap of the race effectively. 7.004 kilometers a lap here at Spa-Francorchamps, and it has been it's been a race of quite high drama in terms of the championship. The race actually, you have to say, Jan Sandman, you wonder whether the pressure was going to mount after the safety car, but he has controlled everything pretty perfectly, Nico. And has a good and comfortable lead. I mean, it's not being increased. He's keeping it at around about the 5 second mark, so he's not overstressing everything. He's just keeping it well within the operating optimum window, if you like. I think the same is true of Andreas Koenig in P2, and Boris Gideon and Norikatsu Shibata, despite best efforts, they're not able to get close to him. I think he's not playing with them, but he's just controlling his race. Of course, you made the point that Andreas Koenig's got a couple of track limits. He doesn't want to be put into a position where he's having to defend too steadfastly. Yeah, absolutely. Shibata had obviously the momentum moving up the order, but getting on terms with Boris Gideon is going to be difficult. So very, very interesting as we have now started the final lap, and Sven Schirmer, he's now having to look at Stephen Earl. Stephen Earl hasn't been able to make a move yet, but the gap is one of the closest on the track. I'm hearing information that says that Sven Schirmer has communicated to his team that he feels he's got a slowly deflating tyre, which is impacting his performance. So that, if is the case, he's doing a darn good job, Nico, in terms of limiting and minimizing the impact of that. Because Stephen Earl has not been able to find a way through. This is Boris Gideon on the last lap, who has really reeled in Andreas Koenig. Now this is for P2, and Andreas Koenig is still in the championship chase. So he needs to maximize his points haul. He needs this P2 position. He needs to defend from Boris Gideon. Absolutely, and Boris Gideon has to be careful not to leave a gap for Shibata, who would pounce immediately at any chance for a podium. Remember, Boris Gideon holds that P3 place, and sometimes the gap between P1 and P2 feels the biggest, but between P3 and P4, a podium or a non-podium, almost equally important. And Sven Schirmer, he started with a no-points finish. He had 9 podiums in a row after that. This would be the 3rd race without a podium after that. So I totally agree. Driving with a deflated tire potentially is a masterful feat, but the tendency certainly for him going the wrong direction. No, absolutely. You're right. It's all going south, and I said that earlier on. And what that does to you, from a psychological point of view, it must hurt. But credit to him for being able to absorb the pressure, excuse the pun, or lack of pressure, in one of his tires. So Sandman, Koenig, Gideon, Shibata, then it is Favre, Schirmer, Earl, Howell, Dobson, who's got a couple of penalties. That'll drop him down beyond Pino Frescara and Shintaro Akatsu. But it's been a masterful drive from the Kessel driver, Jan Sandman. He's soaked up all the pressure, and he heads towards the checkered flag. And for Jan Sandman then, who receives the checkered flag, by my reckoning, it's his 4th win of the season. And Jan Sandman, his chase to potential championship is very much on. Andreas Koenig P2, Boris Gideon P3, then it is Norikatsu Shibata, Guy Favre, and Sven Schirmer just holds off Stephen Earl and the drag race to the line. But well done indeed to Jan Sandman. Masterful drive. We didn't see so much of him in our broadcast, and the reason for that is because, truthfully, he never looked troubled. So well done to Jan Sandman, as I say, a masterful drive in my opinion. Controlled it all from the very, very start, and honestly never really looked threatened at all. For Boris Gideon, back on the podium, Boris Gideon, taking P3. Remind you, if you go back to the very start of the season, he won the 2 opening races. Did a fantastic job. So well done to him. And well done to Norikatsu Shibata. A good P4. In replay here, that was Norikatsu Shibata trying to get to the inside of Boris Gideon. It was a bold and ambitious try, which didn't pay off, but fair play for having a go. We can see it there from the drone, a completely different angle. And some of those drone shots really providing some very, very nice images to enjoy. Here once again is our race winner then, Jan Sandman, who is just coming good for him right at the... there's confirmation of the result. Jan Sandman taking the win from Andreas Koenig and Boris Gideon. Norikatsu Shibata is P4. Then it's Guy Fave, Sven Schirmer. Championship leader going into this race, only finishing P6. Then it's Stephen Earle and Darren Howell ahead of Pino Frascaro, Shintaro Akatsu, Stephen Thompson, Tommy Lindroth, Louis Peruskia, Maurizio Pittori, and of course we saw Alexei Komarov out of the race. So that's the way it looks. And that is a great shot, isn't it? And here once again then, our race leader who's making his way back to the pit lane. A big shout out to Darren Howell. Great finish there, P8 friend. Well done. Pino Frascaro finishing in that P9 position in the 140 car. So into the pit lane comes our race winner then. And heading to the Parc Fermé area. And he'll be out of the car. And it will be considered good job done by the Kessel driver. Jan Sandman.
Very good.
Very good. Well done, Jan. He's out of the car. Just thinking to myself, I'm not sure I've actually seen his normal driver coach, Jan Sandman, here this weekend. So he removes communications, he removes the crash helmet, the hands device, the fireproof balaclava, goes off to get weighed, of course. Doubtless will take on some water. And then, well, it's another podium in prospect, and not only another podium, it is the top step of the podium. Having to do some defending right at the end of the race was Andreas Koenig, but he did it, and he did it with aplomb, and therefore holds on to that P2 place. So, in terms of championship points, Nico, it's there's Boris Gideon, the Auto House Ulrich driver. We'll be happy with that. Yeah, in terms of points, I mean, Sandman can do no more than what he's done. He has got the fastest lap point. He's got the pole position point. He's won the race and all the points that go with it, as Giacomo Altoe congratulates his driver, Andreas Koenig, for P2. I mean, he couldn't have hauled any more points, could he?
No, and I talked to him yesterday evening as the calendar for 2026 was released, and he said, well, actually, I didn't have a clean lap in qualifying. I could have even gone quicker, and he felt fairly confident, modest but confident about his abilities and the speed of the car especially for today. So he's certainly proven that. Maybe different conditions tomorrow? We will see.
Yes, we will, and yeah, we're standing by to hear from our race winner then, Jan Sandman, as I said. I think it's his fourth win of the season. He's with Ludovico. Let's hear from him right now.
Jan, congratulations from pole position to the victory. You made a very good work with your team and a very good and clear race. So I want to discover with you, how do you feel to be here in this first race of the weekend?
Yeah, thank you so much. And also very, very big thank you to my team. The car is perfect. Everybody in the team does a perfect job. and of course the track is a lot of fun. It's by far one of my favorite tracks, and not only because of the track layout, also because of the nice nature all around, and the weather is perfect. So yeah, I'm happy that we put it also on P1. Thank you.
Thank you and congratulations again.
Thank you.
Well done, Jan. Waiting to hear about whether he was counting the points in his head. Suspect he was, you know. Right, let's take a look at the highlights of that race then. And as the lights went out, Jan Salmon's start was perfect. Sven Schirmer's less so, to be fair. And into La Source. Now, this is where Sven really got a little bit mugged. Boris Gideon going around the inside. There you can see contact between Norikatsu Shibata and Darren Howell. That allowed Pino Frascaro to get past the Darren Howell car. But as everyone settled down, some did, some didn't. Norikatsu Shibata doing a great rally job through the gravel and tarmac, but holding on to it and keeping it pointing in the right direction as Stephen Earle went through on Pino Frascaro. You could see there from our drone shot, and Louis Peruscua and Tommy Lindroth having a nice little battle out there, and this was a moment of significant driving from Alexei Komarov. And the reason I'm saying that is because he managed to thread his car through two others to avoid any collision whatsoever. Sven Schirmer was continually under pressure from the 110 car of Norikatsu Shibata, and Shibata would eventually make his way through, and then next in the order would be Guy Favet, and the local driver then does go through on Sven Schirmer. He had several attempts at it, but this was the one that really counted, as Sven Schirmer was less than optimum through the bus stop chicane. It has to be said, he was running with a deflating tyre, so to control the car with a punctured tyre, he'd done really well. But the best of the lot was Jan Sandman, the Kessel driver, taking a win ahead of Andreas Koenig, and then Boris Gideon holding on to that P3 place as they went to the checkered flag. Those were the highlights of race one for Coppa Shell Am at Spa-Francorchamps with our race winner, Jan Sandman. So as we take a look now at Eau Rouge, we're standing by for our podium. And there it is, readied to receive Jan Salmon, Andreas Koenig, and Boris Gideon. So Spa-Francorchamps then, the first podium of the weekend. And it is for our Ferrari Challenge Coppa Shell and drivers. There's Giacomo Altoe, and there's Yasin Ferrati. Yasin Ferrati, Trofeo Pirelli driver, who of course will be out on track in a while. See what he can do. As I say, he's an Emil Frey driver, and Emil Frey, of course, are responsible for their driver, Andreas Koenig, who will be taking his second step on the podium. So we await Michele Mambelli, who is our circuit presenter, who will be bringing the drivers out onto the podium in due course. It's quite a stomp, to be fair, from Parc Ferme area up to the podium, coming just past us here in our broadcast studio, which I have to say is opulent, and we've been very well looked after. So thanks to the team here at Spa-Francorchamps, and of course from the team at Corsa Clienti, who do a great job. As Fons Skeltermar is laughing to the left-hand side of the screen, you can see there. He, of course, is a Coppa Shell driver, and here's Michele Mambelli.
Racing weekend, third on the podium, Shell Am class, Boris Gideon. Boris Gideon, third place on the podium. Second driver on the podium, Andreas Koenig.
There's Andreas.
And the winner is Jan Salman.
And here comes Jan Salman
Kessel on
to
the
take
podium.
the top step of the podium. And Kessel represented, of course.
Please, national anthem. Our claps
So as the
for
anthems fade out there, and here
winners,
comes
and
the trophy
trophy
presentations.
are presented by Olivier Beretta, Ferrari ambassador driver.
Here
Olivier,
is
for the
our
third
Ferrari
driver
ambassador
on
driver,
the
Olivier
podium,
Beretta, to
Boris
make the
Gideon,
trophy
Olivier
presentation. First of all,
Beretta.
to Boris
The trophy
Gideon for
the
P3.
second driver on the podium.
Then it will
Olivier
be
Beretta
Andreas
presents
Koenig
the
who will be in
trophy for
receipt of the
Andreas
P2 trophy.
Koenig.
And then on the top step of the
And now the
podium,
trophy
taking his
for
fourth win of the season
winner.
in
The
Ferrari
winner
Challenge
is
Coppa
Jan
Champs.
Sandman.
That is Jan
Jan
Sandman. Well done, Jan.
Sandman.
Olivier
And the
Beretta
trophy
then,
for the team,
Ferrari
team
ambassador driver,
manager
making the
for Kessel
presentations.
Racing.
Kessel, of course, will be in receipt of the
The trophy
Coppa
for
team trophy
the
also.
crew of Kessel, Olivier Beretta. And now, please,
So everyone will huddle
Olivier,
together on the
team
podium
manager,
for
and
photographs.
all the drivers on the podium, please lift your trophy. Lift your trophy, please.
And Michele
Okay.
invites the drivers to lift their trophy.
Photos and
One does,
images
two
for
don't.
Spa-Francorchamps.
Okay.
First
okay.
race for Shell AM class.
Right, who's going to be
And
first for the
now,
champagne?
guys,
It's going to
we
be
are ready
Koenig.
for
No,
the
actually, it was Boris Gideon.
champagne.
Koenig couldn't get the clutch released. So it was Boris Gideon that celebrated first with the champagne. The Outer House Ulrich driver then taking P3. Taking P2 for ML Fry Racing, Andreas Koenig. Good result for Andreas. But I said earlier on, it's been a masterclass drive from qualifying through to the race for the Kessel driver, Jan Sandman. He's done everything that he can possibly do. Let's take a look at the Drivers' Championship points now as we head into race 2. Sven Schirmer has now seen his gap at the top reduced to just 15 between himself and Jan Sandman, and Andreas Koenig is 28 points adrift. So those three, that's where the championship fight is going to be, Nico, and it will go to, of course, the race tomorrow.
Absolutely. Pressure on, kind of, for all three. Andreas Koenig wants to have a perfect weekend or a consistent weekend finally. Jan Sandman, he will have his mind set on reducing the gap. Sven Schirmer, just don't do it like today. Have a better result tomorrow and keep that lead up.
You're absolutely right. That's precisely what needs to be done. So there we have it then, the first race of a fantastic Racing Days weekend here at Spa-Francorchamps. It's been a good race, plenty of drama in there, and a lot to talk about with regards to points hauls. So going to be very interesting to see what the drivers can do with their race 2 tomorrow, where the weather conditions are likely to be somewhat different to today. So there we have it from Nico and from myself. Thank you so much for watching the first race of the weekend, Ferrari Challenge Coppa Shell Am. Bye-bye for now.